We are closer and closer to most of the Itauma versus Dillian Whyte. This is now my fight preview and breakdown now for you guys. If you've been keeping up to date, I have predicted the Dillian Whyte win. But this is a video on how both guys could win the fight, how both guys might go about it. And yeah, I feel like it's an interesting fight, of course, more interesting than what a lot of people think. I've seen most people just think Moser the Itauma is going to absolutely run through Dillian Whyte in a matter of like 3 to 5 rounds, which I think is a bit stupid to say, to be honest with you. And I think it's pretty disrespectful to Dillian Whyte to say that because, you know, he's a very experienced guy. He's a veteran of the game. But look, we look at Dillian Whyte here, and he's not looking in his prime anymore, to say the least. He's not looking like he's in his prime. In his last few fights, you know, especially in the Tete fight, the Hammer fight, the Fury fight, those last 3 fights of his legs are basically bloody gone and shot. But that is because he was so fat. He was just a fat pudding in those fights, if we're being brutally honest. He was. But this one, he's in the best shape of his career. He's in the best shape of his life. He is taking this one very seriously. He knows this could be the biggest fight of his... Well, it could be the biggest fight of his career. It really could be. If he wins this, then it just sets him off again, trying to get himself right back into the picture at what, like 37 years old? It is a massive fight for him. He needs to win it. It could arguably be the most important fight of his career, because if he loses this, then he is basically done. There is nothing for him to do if he loses this. But if he wins, he's right back in that picture already, and it's a huge statement if he can win. And the thing is as well, I've seen most people saying he's got nothing to lose, but he's got a career to lose if he loses this fight. He has got a lot of pressure on him. But you would probably say most of the pressure in this fight is on Moser the Itauma because of what he's being bigged up to be, and rightfully so. You know, he's being bigged up to be a massive bloody star, and he is gonna be one. He will be a massive star. But Dillian Whyte right now is in shape, looks to be taking it seriously, looks to have quite a lot about him this fight week. He's not giving those away. He's playing an interesting game this fight week, to be honest with you. Cagey but confident. Cagey but confident. I'd describe Dillian Whyte this week. One thing as well, which I actually want to know, is that in the face-off earlier, Itauma is actually taller than Dillian Whyte, and I was bloody shocked. I did not think Itauma was taller than Dillian Whyte. Honestly, I don't think many people expected that either. But honestly, he's taller than him. Arguably right now a bit wider than him as well. Like, honestly, I was not expecting that. Not expecting that at all. But I still think Whyte's probably going to be the stronger guy, and Whyte will probably still be the more powerful guy as well. But Itauma's going to be the more skillful. But Whyte is the experienced guy. Whyte is a good inside fighter who can back you up and is good on the front foot, always likes to take the front foot. Dillian Whyte does, and he has ridiculous knockout power. And he's dangerous if he catches you flush. And I think he will ask questions of Moser the Itauma. Especially, look, if this fight goes late, then I feel like more people are going to start to favour Dillian Whyte because he's got the experience in the later round. Itauma hasn't. And I think an interesting thing that Itauma said in the build-up to this is why I think he said it at the Grand Arrivals is that, you know, he knows what he's been able to do in the sparring. He's probably gone multiple 12 rounds in sparring many times. But again, he said himself, sparring is very different to being in the ring, as we know. And he said as well, he's going to learn a lot about himself when he's in there. Because, you know, it's completely different being in there and sparring to then going under the bright lights and, you know, going 12 rounds with someone. It's completely different. But whether this does go 12 rounds or not, because I feel like what people are saying right now with Dillian Whyte's weaknesses are his chin. Like, they are questioning his chin in every single one of his losses. he's been chinned by uppercuts. And to be honest, though, recent fights as well, especially the Franklin one, I noticed this, is that he was better. He kind of found a new kind of defense. I'm not going to say Philly shell, but kind of trying to defend the uppercut. Trying to find ways around trying to defend the uppercut here and there when he's forced into defense. He kind of goes, kind of Philly shell for defense of the uppercut. That's what I'm trying to say. But I think he's inconsistent with it, though. He's inconsistent with defending it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But again, I think Itauma leaves his chin high, so it could leave there to be opportunities for Dillian Whyte to go ahead and counter on. But I think as well, what I am thinking about this fight is the questions around Moser the Itauma going to this fight week is, can he do 12 rounds? Can he do 10? Can he do 12 rounds? What's he like after the 5th, 6th rounds? They're the questions that are right now being asked to Moser the Itauma. So I feel like Moser Itauma might be thinking to himself before going to this fight is that a statement here might not be a brutal knockout early on. A statement for Moser the Itauma in this fight might be schooling Dillian Whyte over 12 rounds. Because I've said this throughout fight week as well. Dillian Whyte, I don't think, has got the most amazing gas tank. He hasn't at all. But I think that Dillian Whyte does have those that he's always able to slug it out throughout the whole 12 rounds, no matter what. He's always able to grit down, slug it out, and he carries his power throughout the whole fight, throughout the whole 12 rounds. And he's proved that play time and time again. So that's going to be interesting. But again, I feel like it could be interesting if Itauma comes into this fight and just decides to outbox Dillian Whyte and just completely outskill him. That would not surprise me at all, to be honest with you. It really bloody wouldn't. But yeah, I think for Itauma, I feel like he's going to want to keep Whyte at range. He's going to want to keep it long. He's going to use his speed. I feel like I don't think if Itauma is to win, I don't think he'd blow Dillian Whyte right out of there. I feel like he'll probably have to break him down with his speed, and then eventually, you never know, the speed could wear out Dillian Whyte, and then he eventually gets him out of there. He hits him with some real good, well-timed shots that Whyte doesn't see coming, and we all know they're the ones that affect you the most, the ones that you don't see coming. And Itauma's got a load of those kind of shots you just don't see coming. He's just got that great unpredictability factor against him. Plus, Itauma's a southpaw. He's got the advantages here when the fight's going right, when the fight's going left. Itauma's got the advantages because, when Itauma's going right, he's taking away that backhand of Dillian Whyte, which is Dillian Whyte's main weapon. And who knows how Dillian Whyte will react when he will eventually at some point get his right hand taken away from him, especially early on in the fight. But again, when they're going left, Itauma can just walk him onto that left hand. So it's going to be interesting. But for Dillian Whyte, I think he's going to have to make it ugly if he wants to win, which I think he will do. I think he's going to have to apply pressure, and I feel like he's going to have to back Itauma up onto the ropes. And that is how I think Dillian Whyte will win. But that is how I think that's what he does need to do to win. And I feel like he does need to chin check Moser Itauma ASAP in the fight. When I say chin check, catch him in the catch him in the first 2 rounds or something. Make him think. Whyte can't afford to be hesitant. I feel like, though, the questions around him, though, is that he can start slow Dillian Whyte. I honestly feel like, to be honest, I don't think it's bad if he has a slow start and loses the first 2 rounds, but he at least needs to catch Itauma on the chin early. I reckon possibly first 3 rounds especially, he will likely get outworked. So then you never know, in the 4th round or something, he could land something and then, get something going. But I think for Itauma to win rounds, he's going to win rounds based on skill, speed, all that, and being able to outwork and outland Dillian Whyte. But for Dillian Whyte to win his rounds, I feel like he's going to just have to land flush and convincing shots and be pushing Moser Itauma back. But yeah, questions will be answered. I'm really excited for this fight. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll speak to you on the next one.